Hey, this is Dr. Gurpreet Padda. I wanted to talk a little bit about what we do in immigrationexam.us. The reason that we do immigration exams is because I myself am an immigrant. I moved here when I was 8 or 9 years old, and I came from India. It was a very difficult time in India, and our family was leaving there because India was experimenting with communism, and we wanted to come to the United States. My parents are both in the science fields, and they didn't see a way forward in India that they could really do a lot with. So it became a challenge for them to stay in India, and we relocated to the United States. We went through the entire process of immigration in the 70s. It was substantially more difficult then than it is now. When I got here, I was 8 or 9 years old. It was a whole different world. Right now, it's much easier. It may not seem much easier, but it is. Because right now, there are discrete, specific pathways, and the pathways are very algorithmic. What I mean is, the pathways are specifically designed with specific legal language, and if you fulfill the criteria, you'll get citizenship. If you don't fulfill the criteria, they won't let you in. You won't be able to get your green card. So a lot of patients that I deal with are looking at getting their I-693 form, which is the immigration exam. It's now required for anybody trying to get a green card or a change of status. And most people assume that an I-693 is a general medical exam, and that's not true. The I-693 is a very specific exam, and it's not general medical. It is designed to specifically identify patients who are at high risk for communicable disease. We want to make sure when we complete the I-693 form that there's no communicable disease that the person is carrying. It's not designed to figure out if you have high blood pressure. It's not designed to figure out if you have diabetes. It's designed to see if you're medically stable and if you have a communicable disease or not, and if you're a risk for society. So it's not the general exam that you're going to get. And for that reason, you have to go to a US certified civil surgeon, and I happen to be one of those folks. Now, it used to be pretty simple. Even 2 years ago, it was relatively simple. You would go in, they would fill out a few pieces of paper, and they would complete the form. They would give you a copy. You would send your copy in with your 485 form, which is your general change of status form, and you would turn it in. But that's not what's happened now. It's a significant change. Now it's very detailed, and if you don't hit all of the criteria, which I'm going to go over, they'll reject you. And it's such a dramatic change that a lot of patients don't understand that they had their I-693 done probably January or before of this year. They turned it in, and now they're being processed and rejected. It's because of the change in guideline, and it's become so specific. So let's go over what this is. There's a couple components. One, you have to be able to prove who you are. So that means, do you have citizenship paper from where you're at, or do you have some form of real ID here in the United States, or do you have a passport that's valid from where you were from? Can you prove who you are? If you're a child, is there a birth certificate? Is there some way to prove exactly who the person sitting in front of me today matches with who they say that they are? That's issue one. Issue two is, do you have any communicable disease? And I'm not talking about every disease on earth. I'm talking about specifically, are you at risk for tuberculosis? Do you carry gonorrhea? And do you have syphilis? Those are the three major ones that they're looking at. Yeah, they're also looking at leprosy. They're looking at a few other things. But those are the three major ones. And we have to test and affirmatively give an analysis after a specific blood or urine test that says, hey, this person doesn't have gonorrhea. They don't have syphilis, or they don't have tuberculosis that's active. Now, it doesn't mean that your TB test may not be positive. And it's not the regular old PPD. This is a specific blood test that measures your immune status, and it's a mitogen level. It determines, or helps us determine, do you have active TB? If it's positive, we have to get a chest x-ray and see if you have disease. That doesn't preclude you from getting the green card, but it does stipulate that you now need treatment. And we have to make sure that we get you that treatment. And we have to get you to the right source for treatment. And then we can complete your I-693 form. So 1, do we know who you are? 2, are you carrying a communicable disease? 3, which is trips up most people, they assume that because they had childhood vaccinations, that should be good enough. Everybody in their country got that childhood vaccination. We all know that everybody was immunized for polio. It's not a matter of whether you were or you weren't. I have to be able to prove it. And so either I have to have the childhood vaccination translated into English that we can then submit and hold in our records, or we have to do it again. So a couple things that we need. We need to have a tetanus test. We need to have diphtheria and pertussis. We have to have polio. We have to have mumps, measles, and rubella. Those are the baselines. The current recommendations is also for hepatitis B. The other recommendation is either you've had varicella and I can prove it by historical documents or by an antibody test, or I have to give you a chickenpox vaccination. And then the COVID vaccination used to be required, but it's no longer required. Now, age dependent, there are other vaccines that may be required. You may need a meningococcus, you may need a pneumococcus, and depends upon the season, depends on the time of year, you may or may not need an influenza. All of this to say that what we do, we get all the information, we enter it into the record, we give you a copy of it as well, obviously. But by the time that that record gets to an auditor or a reviewer, it may be a different seasonal time. And the auditor may not be paying attention to that. They may look at you and go, well, you don't have your influenza. It's flu season and you don't have your influenza. And that's critical because we got to make sure that we have all of the data points that we need so that you don't get rejected. So we put all of that information together. We give you a copy of it that is for your copy, whether you use an attorney or don't use an attorney. And there are pluses and minuses of using attorneys, and I'm happy to talk to you about that. And then we give you a sealed copy that you need to send along with your forms. The critical element is do not open the sealed copy. If you open the sealed copy, which has my signature on it, which has a date on it, it's sealed shut. If you open that, put something in it, take something out, cut it, if it looks like it's been tampered with, it'll be immediately rejected. And you'll have to go through the whole process again. We have a fee to analyze all of this stuff. We have an upfront fee, and then we have a fee per visit. If you come in with all of your information, you're only going to pay the upfront fee. But I find that that's rare. Only about 5% to 10% of people come in with everything, that they have their ID, they've got their documentation of tuberculosis and RPR, and they've got their documentation of PCR for gonorrhea, that they've got their documentation of all of their vaccinations, and we're ready to submit. It does happen. I mean, I see it every week where we have somebody come in and they've got a perfect package of information and we can send it immediately. That's about 5% of people. And we get it done that day and they're well on their way and there's nothing else to do. The majority of people, however, are missing pieces. And that can be a problem because they need those pieces of information in order for us to successfully complete the 693 form. Sometimes people will get mad that why don't you just go ahead and write this? We can't. I have to have proof on every single item. And it's not proof for me, it's proof for the documentation. Because if I write something and it's not accurate, which I won't do, if something gets written and it was a bad piece of information, you'll get rejected. You may not get rejected today. They can go back and say, oh, that was fraudulent in the past. Don't do that. The critical element is let's do this right from the beginning, get all of the parts that we need, and then there's no issue for any of this. There's no issue for anybody involved. And everybody gets exactly what they're looking to have done. You get your green card, you get your change of status. We make sure that everything's documented. We keep copies for 5 to 10 years, and we retain those copies. You'll have a copy, obviously, as well. And that protects everybody involved. We'd love to help you through this process. Sometimes patients will also come in and they need a translator. We can't give you a translator for every single language, but the vast majority of languages are translatable. And sometimes we can get somebody on the phone, or you can get somebody on the phone, and we can explain the issues, because it's not very complicated once you break it down to the simple steps. There's nothing magical about this, but you have to follow the steps exactly to the letter. And if you don't follow those steps, you'll get a rejection. And that's the last thing we want for you. We don't want you to get a rejection. All right, again, this is Dr. Padda. I'm with immigrationexams.us. We're located in St. Louis, Missouri. I'd love to help you through this process. And if you need my assistance, reach out to us. Thank you.